what I'm going to do now is this is my approach with my own students who are learning the blues and also slash learning, how to do some lead guitar stuff. There's a few devices that I like to show, and I mean, it's almost like a guitar workout. When you're playing, when you're first playing the scale and you're jamming out, you find yourself really just going up and down the scale. You're not really skipping strings or necessarily as you get, more nuanced with your playing, you'll see that you're not always going to be just going up and down the scale like that. So I found that there's two pretty cool exercises. It's another thing to just kind of program. It doesn't have to be, it's another thing that you can do, when you're focused on something else. Is I like going down the pentatonic. We're going to take the blues note out right now. And like a little sequence, but you'll find great licks in it. And the first one that I'll do is groups of 4. Okay, so what that means is I'm going to go from where my pinky is on the 8th fret. I'm going to go 4 down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like that. Okay, but then the next group of 4 is going to start one note lower in the scale from my pinky. So then I'm going to go from there. So both of those together. And what I did, when they overlap, you'll see that I already did something that I wasn't doing when I was practicing the scale up and down. I went from the 5th fret on the B string over to the 5th fret on the high E. Here it is again, real slow. So it immediately gets you to do something you weren't doing before when you were just practicing the scale up and down. Okay, I'm going to go to the next group. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. The next group starts right next door. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is probably the weirdest one. The next group starts right here on the 8th fret of the B string. And from here on out, that's pretty cool because each sequence starts usually like right next to it on the same fret. So now I'm on the 5th fret of the B string. And then right next door here on the 7th fret of the G string. Get that going. Now I can hear a blues lick right away on those first 2 sequences. If I go, yeah, so just right with that first sequence, I can hear a really tasty blues lick, or how to turn that sequence into a musical idea. All right, so if I took that sequence, I'm going to actually just go back to that note right there from that sequence. That's a cool blues lick. Now that note right there is the root. It's an A note on the 5th fret. I could actually bend the 8th fret of the B string to that note, and it's got a more kind of vocal sound to it. Like that, right? So I could take that sequence, but instead of playing that note, I could bend the B string up and still have that sequence, but now it's really a lot more musical like this. And there's a new blues lick right out of that sequence. Oh, back down the blues scale, okay? Here's that whole group of 4 sequence again. I'm going to play it really slow. So keep in mind, every time you go 4 down, the next one's going to either start right next to it, or here on the G string, it's a half step off, but it's always the next closest note on that string. All right? Something that's super critical within that exercise. If I took those first 2 sequences, like that, most people, when they first start to do it, and then the next note's right here, they're going to typically, and it's natural, I did the same thing, I want to take my finger off and then move it over to there, right? That's not what we want to do. What we want to do is if I'm using, like, let's say, and I use the tip of my first fingers on the B string on the 5th fret right now, and I want to go to the same fret on the high E string, I'm not going to take my finger off and move it over. I'm going to flatten it over. I'm going to roll it over. See that? It's the fastest way to do it. And now I'm not covering them both down when I do it, which could, you know, you could get some licks out of that, but what we're really want to focus on right now is the rolling over of the finger. Now, on this one, you can't roll it because it's not the same fret. But my pinky should be nearby. I don't want my pinky curled back here and then have to find it. I want my hand kind of in this kind of position. But now we can roll again. My first finger is just going to roll or flatten over to there. Roll it again. Roll. Roll. Can't do it here. Separate frets. Roll again. Okay, so that was groups of 4.